Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, the Who's Ready for Some Fighting Words. In this video, I want to talk about Tim Tszyu and his up-and-coming bout with Carlos Ocampo. Really quick, if you like the videos, take the time right now, subscribe to the channel. It takes one click. Also, hit that thumbs up button. Also takes one click. You'll be done within 1 second. Let's jump into this video. So, I don't know why everybody's pressing Tim Tszyu about taking this fight with Carlos Ocampo. And is he a dangerous guy? Yes, he's a dangerous guy. He's a very heavy-handed guy. You know, he's a dangerous guy. So I get that reason, but why they're asking him if he should be taking this fight is ludicrous to me. He was asked again today, and it's like, why not? Why not take the fight? You know, they're like, well, it's dangerous. Okay, it's dangerous, but it also helps Tim Tszyu. It keeps, all right, there's a few things that happens. One, it keeps him relevant. Two, it keeps him sharp. Three, it builds his experience. And four, like, it gauges where he belongs. You know, like, yeah, all right, he just beat Tony Harrison, which was pretty impressive, if you ask me. But Tony Harrison, you know, when it comes to power, isn't the most dangerous guy in the world. Now you're dealing with somebody, with Tony Harrison, you were dealing with somebody who was a pure boxer. And that presented its own problems and dangers. You know, IQ, footwork, movement, just understanding of the ring, how to set traps, how to keep a guy at bay, things of that nature. Combinations, things of that nature. Now you're dealing with somebody who can thump. Now you're dealing with somebody who can put guys away. So it presents its own problems. So now you're dealing with a guy who is going to just kind of hunt you down. So now it is, in a sense, a battle of wills, because both of you guys can hit. Tim Tszyu and Carlos Ocampo can both hit. They can thump. And they also typically do the stalking in their fights. So somebody's going to have to give way to somebody else. So this is more of a battle of will. Also a battle with power. So we know both guys can dish it out. We've seen both guys down. Tim Tszyu got back to his feet, rose to the occasion. Carlos Ocampo, not so much so. However, you know, that was a long time ago since Carlos Ocampo has been down and out. So, all right, people grow and they transform into what they're going to be. And Tim Tszyu was actually asked about that as well. And they're, you know, like, oh, he was put down by Spence. And he's like, yeah, but that was a long time ago. He was young. And he's like, I don't even count that because it's been years since that, you know. So, like, I don't count that. I'm not gauging that, saying I'm going to do anything to him based upon that, which was a good response, because I think it's silly to look at another dude fight and say, well, I'm going to do the same thing. Why? Because he did it. Well, we don't fight the same. We're not the same. You don't know what was going on in Carlos Ocampo's personal life. And he was very green, you know, in terms of being a professional at the time. So it was a good response by Tim Tszyu. I think it's like ludicrous. They also asked Tim Tszyu, well, you know, Spence put him down really early. You know, do you think you need to make that type of statement? And he's like, no, I don't really feel I need to make any type of statement other than win. You know, and that's also something that you don't want to put yourself in a state where I got to do this because this is what he did. Yeah, that's what he did at that particular time. That's not you, and this is a different time. Also, you're dealing with a guy who's grown and matured as well over time. So you really can't gauge any of that. And it's funny that, you know, Tim isn't necessarily thinking about a knockout, which is great. I hate when I hear guys say, I'm going to get a knockout, I'm going to get a knockout. You know, unless you're Deontay Wilder, you can't really be screaming, I'm going to get a knockout. You just can't. You know, like, unless you're Deontay Wilder, he has every right to scream that, you know, but, like, not everybody can get away with that. Not everybody can get away with that, and it's believable. Let me say it like that. Not everybody can get away with saying, I'm going to get a knockout, and that's believable. Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, can definitely say that, and it's very much so believable. But it's interesting that Tim Tszyu said, I just keep hearing no mas, no mas. He believes he will punish Carlos Ocampo and break him to the point where either, you know, he will choose not to get off his stool in between rounds, or his cornerman will say, you know what, I'm waving the white flag. It's over, you know? Maybe even the referee to step in. Who knows? But he's not necessarily seeing a knockout. And I think that's a real thing about perceiving what's going to happen. He's looking at the style matchup between himself and Carlos Ocampo. He's also looking at the power factor. He's also looking at, we are two guys who are going to just rush forward. So it could be a knockout just based upon who we are individually. But it could also be, a war and a war of attrition. It could be that as well, because I know he's not going to back off. And I know he knows, Carlos Ocampo, whoever wins this fight does get their hands on Jermell Charlo and all those belts. So, yeah, it's interesting that he said that, though. No mas, no mas. He said, I just keep hearing the words no mas. And I think it's going to be one of those fights, maybe quite possibly, like I said, the way the two guys fight. Maybe, fight of the year. Maybe. Why not? I mean, they're both sluggers. They'll both bang it out. They're both also very cautious. They're not reckless. Neither guy is reckless. That's why when he said, I could see this going, the full fight, the full 12 rounds, because, yes, they are heavy hitters. Yes, they are heavy-handed. Yes, they are both finishers. But they're not reckless guys. They're not the type of guys who just bull rushing. They're not Manny Pacquiao. They're not a Triple G who's just gonna be like, put my head down. I'm just gonna march on forward, and we're gonna see what happens. They're not that. Neither guy is that. Tim Tszyu is very controlled. Yeah, he puts guys out, but he's a controlled guy who puts guys out. Carlos Ocampo, he takes his time and he eases into the fight. He doesn't just rush through the fight. So when he said no mas, that made a whole lot of sense to me. But like I said, I feel like this benefits Tim Tszyu. I think just to stay active, to stay sharp. It's one thing to stay in the gym. It's something else to actually fight a world contender in the interim while you wait. I think that's a better thing. And quite frankly, I feel like he's going to be a lot sharper than Jermell Charlo. The only thing that Jermell Charlo has in his bag of tricks while he, waits to get, fully healed up, is he fights Errol Spence on a regular basis. He spars Errol Spence like on a regular basis. He spars the number one guy at 147 pounds on a regular basis. And Errol Spence is not a small guy. Errol Spence could fight at 154 pounds tomorrow, no problem, in tip-top shape. So, yes, Jermell Charlo will be waiting. Okay. But it's a great consolation prize to be sparring Errol Spence, because that's going to help. It's going to do more than help. You're sparring a unified champ. And those guys have had some wars in the ring because they're both champions. So, and they're also not uncommon to go 15 rounds. So I will leave that in the corner of Jermell Charlo. But there's nothing like being in an actual fight. There's nothing like actually taking that walk to the ring, hearing the thousands and thousands of people cheering and booing and screaming and everything else they're saying, which might be nice and might not be so nice. Getting the butterflies in your stomach, going through a full training camp, visualizing what you're going to do to this particular guy in this particular night at this particular time. That can't be replicated through sparring. So I definitely think it benefits Tim Tszyu. I think he will be sharper on the night because of he's taking on Carlos Ocampo. And if Jermell Charlo still isn't 100% after this fight, I'm more than sure that he's gutsy enough to take on another challenger if he has to wait a few more months or possibly a year to get his hands on Jermell Charlo. That's what I think. But tell me what you think. Drop your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you think. What do you think about Tim Tszyu saying that he doesn't necessarily see a knockout? He just hears the words no mas ringing through his ears when he's thinking about his upcoming bout with Carlos Ocampo. Also, tell me what you think about him not relaxing and not taking it easy or waiting on Jermell Charlo. Do you agree with me that it would only benefit him that he stays active, that he stays current, that he stays in a warrior state of mind? Drop your thoughts down below. As always, I would love to hear what you have to say. Please like, please share, please subscribe to this channel.